So here are the directions for the first two questions. So we normally start with the passage, but then I wanted to switch things up a bit. So what do we have here? Two questions. Each one of the two questions give you 5 jumbled up sentences related to a topic. 4 of them are going to be part of the same paragraph, one does not, and that is the one that you need to choose as your answer. So we normally call this question the paragraph odd one out. Let's go ahead and dive into it then. Good morning, Sonali and Sri. How are you doing? Do you have any questions or concerns that you want to share? And those of you who are joining in right now, welcome to the session. Let us go ahead and work. So here is your first question on the screen. Go ahead, give it a shot. I'll write what this question is at the top so that those who join in late can also figure out what they're supposed to do. So this is a paragraph odd one out question. One of these 5 sentences does not belong to the same paragraph. Your goal is to identify that. Let's see. So waiting for the answers to come in. I'm still waiting for the answers. Normally it does not take you guys this long. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so let us see. Now that you've read all the sentences, what do these sentences talk about? Tell me. What do these sentences talk about? So 4 of these sentences talk about how the beauty involved or associated with a theory somehow makes the theory appeal infallible. And those 4 sentences are 1, 2, 4 and 5. All of them are talking about beauty in a theory, or a theory being beautiful or elegant. But if you look at sentence number 3, it talks about cultural ideals of beauty. Now obviously cultural ideals of beauty are not going to talk about beautiful theories, right? So if I simply look at it in terms of a theme, I'd say that 1, 2, 4, 5 happen to have the same theme, whereas 3 is talking about something else, and that is why 3rd is going to be the right answer for this particular question. And here is your next one, question number 2. So what's your take on this one? So all that you do is just think of the theme. Read all the sentences, try to figure out the theme that emerges. That's usually the first thing that I do. When this fails, I look at that para-jumble kind of a thing. भाई अगर थीम नहीं दिखेगी तो फिर वो पैराजम्बल वाला टाइप देखना शुरू करेंगे ना थोड़ा अपन. Okay, so we're getting 3, we're getting 2. Now, if I start connecting, although I don't think it is really required, but 1, 2 and 5 definitely go in together. And then, if you look at this type 1 interferons, what does it do? It makes the other cells in the body know that there is an issue. So fourth will become a topic sentence for this. So if I were to arrange, come up with a paragraph, I'll say 4125. 3 on the other hand is talking about interferon not working. So I am sure it is a sentence that is part of the same article. It is perhaps a part of a paragraph that comes after. But 3 is not going to be a part of this same paragraph. It does not talk about the same theme. So now that we have gone ahead and warmed up with the help of our VA questions, let's get ready to take on our passage. So 3 to 7, read the passage and answer the questions that follow. I really love this about RCs. इतनी सी डायरेक्शंस आती हैं और तंग कर देती हैं हमें पेपर में. So ready? सो आप में से काफ़ी लोग बहुत रेगुलरली जो सेशंस अटेंड करते रहे हैं, आपको पता है हमें क्या करना होता है. वी टेक अ डीप ब्रेथ एंड मे बी अनदर कपल ऑफ देम वी प्राइम आवरसेल्व्स अप टू फोकस एंड देन वी स्टार्ट. रेडी? हियर यू गो. जस्ट लेट मी नो वंस यू आर डन. भाई जैसे ही पढ़ लो नीचे बता देना डन, और फिर हम आगे चलेंगे. बड़ा रेलेवेंट सा पैसेज है यार. आप प्रिपरेशन के एंगल से भी सोच सकते हैं इसे. you'd find some things which are going to be relevant for you. Okay, fantastic, Sonali. Okay, here is the next one. Into SRV. What is SRV? Or should I even ask? Should I know? So when you read a passage, you're supposed to read it fast, read it for an overview. But whenever you see transitionals of contrast, that's a moment where we slow down. That indicates U-turn, right? So that's an area which is important for us to focus properly on. Next. Hope you're through with this by now. I really love this line, huh? For us, since I was talking about it has our applications to us too, wrong answers are the greatest source of learning. Vacillate, vacillate is to keep moving around a particular axis. Or in terms of human beings, vacillating would mean somebody who's not firm, somebody who's not made up his mind. ना बार बार confuse होता रहता है. हाँ यार पिज्जा खाऊं के बर्गर खाऊं, यार पिज्जा खाऊं के बर्गर खाऊं, यार छोड़ो छोले भटूरे ना खा लें. Then you vacillating, है ना. संडे मॉर्निंग यही सोचते, पंजाबीज तो ऐसे ही सोचते है ना, छोले भटूरे खाएंगे. So that's vacillating to us. Okay, and here is the very last sentence for you. Think, plans and strategies are the seed, execution is the nourishment, consumer is the capricious weather. बहुत ही खूबसूरत एनालॉजी है ना फार्मिंग के साथ. लवली लवली एग्जाम्पल, बट इसमें एक चीज मिसिंग है, बता सकते हो क्या? हाँ, if I look at this particular analogy, there is this one thing missing in this. So yes, you sow a seed, yes, you nourish it, then you do depend on the weather, etc. But then there is something that happens even before you sow the seed, and that is you prepare the field. You prepare the ground. भाई पहले जमीन भी तैयार करनी पड़ती है. Okay. Sri, capricious is somebody who acts out of whims and fancies instead of acting out of reasons. So capricious weather is weather जो कभी भी ऐसे ही चेंज हो जाता है यार, कोई लॉजिक ही नहीं नजर आता उसके चेंज होने में, right? So that's capricious. Okay, so here is your first question based on the passage. Overall, it's question number 3. In terms of style, this passage can be best termed as what? So, हमारे पास आते हैं ना ये style and tone based questions. So, this is one of those question types for you. Let's see what your take on this will be. If you do not know the meaning of any word, you can ask. Okay. Gaurav, Kritika, I see that. Sri. So I have 3 answers. I normally can start my discussion here. So in an expository passage, we explain a topic. Descriptive is descriptive. We describe a person, a place, a thing. When the passage is abstract, it deals with some kind of theory, some kind of hypothesis. It is not going to deal with everyday life. A narrative is a story. So it is, so if I look at it, it is definitely not abstract. There is no story, so we can rule out a narrative. And between A and B, is it descriptive? Does it describe a particular place or a particular person in great detail for you? No. It goes ahead and talks about the pros and cons of, it talks about planning, it talks about the need to plan and the need to execute and how both are critical. So it's not descriptive, right? So in reality, this passage actually happens to have an opinion. I would prefer something like arguing for or supporting persuasive article, but because I don't have any such choice and B, C and D are definitely ruled out, I think the closest that we have is A, and I am absolutely with you on that. तो सबसे पास A, ये रहा आपका क्वेश्चन नंबर 4. अब आपको बताना है ऑथर का मेन पर्पस. सो व्हाट इज द मेन पर्पस ऑफ द ऑथर? Okay, so fourth, I have 3 answers and you're absolutely right. The correct answer is indeed B. So the first 3 paragraphs essentially talk about if planning is needed. And then there is this however. And then it introduces these other people who say, execution is the key. And then finally, in the last couple of paragraphs, the author shares his opinion that you need both of these as well as execution. And remember that last analogy, all the three things are important. And that is why B, absolutely, yes. Here is your next question. Oh, Sonali, I read your message a little late. Let's take it up later. Failure of new Coke. Lesson from the failure of new Coke. भाई बी स्कूल में पढ़ाते हैं ये कॉलेजेस में केस स्टडी. So, what's your take? Absolutely, yes, D it is. So, after yesterday, where we struggled with the passage, we are on fire today. Absolutely on point. Wonderful to see that. Okay, how about this? Question number 6. Specific detail question. Let's see whether you are able to recall what Steve Jobs said and what Benjamin Franklin said. Otherwise, of course, use the seeker, go back to the right part and answer. Okay. Okay, then let me help you see it. So there is a particular sentence where Benjamin Franklin's approach is given to us. So in the words of Benjamin Franklin, failing to plan is planning to fail. In other words, Benjamin Franklin supports vigorous planning before execution, right? On the other hand, Steve Jobs says, to me, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. They're just a multiplier. Execution is worth millions. So Steve Jobs believes in execution rather than planning. So now if you take these two quotes together, what does that tell us? Are they similar in their approach? No. Are they different? Yes. Does any of the two talk about consumers? No. And therefore, and since B is true, I think D can also be ruled out. So, Benjamin Franklin, focus on planning. Steve Jobs, focus on execution. So, different. We just needed to refer to the last part of the first paragraph and the fourth paragraph. Okay, next and the last question based on the passage. Here it is. So remember, we get these figure of speech based questions in RC occasionally. They're not very frequent in the CAT, but they are quite frequent in exams like XAT and IIFT. So I thought that I'll sneak in one figure of speech question that combines, or that is combined with the comprehension, and then see how it works. So when you say consumer is the capricious weather, last paragraph, which figure of speech would that be? Shall we? Okay, okay. So let's have a quick review. So what is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is using words that indicate sound, or using words that indicate sound to refer to something, right? So basically words that capture sounds. Then you have simile. Simile is comparison between two unlike things using words like, as if, as though. Metaphor is comparison without using like. And then you have this word called anaphora. So anaphora is when different expressions happen to have the same word or same set of words at the beginning. So when the same set of words repeats, you call it anaphora. For example, how about this? Go big or go home. Notice repetition of go. Or get busy living or get busy dying. We're repeating get busy. What do I say to you at the end of our session? Stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. That's another example of anaphora. So when you say consumer is the capricious weather, it is, there is no like or as, right? So it's not an onomatopoeia or simile or anaphora. तो any case anaphora तो वैसे rule out है ना, repetition है ही नहीं, sound है नहीं तो onomatopoeia भी नहीं है, like as नहीं है तो simile भी नहीं है, बचता ही क्या है? See, so if you could only figure out the figure of speech, I think this question would have answered itself, which I think most of you know apparently, huh? So it's good to see that you know your figures of speech. पढ़ते रहो। और एक आखिरी सवाल फ्रॉम अ टॉपिक फ्रॉम एन एरिया जो ना मैंने यार यूज़ नहीं किया अभी तक, हाँ, क्योंकि कैट में आता नहीं है, लेकिन इनडायरेक्ट यूटिलिटी है और इसलिए मुझे लगा पूछ लेना चाहिए ना। देयर इज दिस एरिया व्हिच हैपेंस टू हैव एन इनडायरेक्ट यूटिलिटी in the RCs, and I thought I should once in a blue moon go ahead and ask you that question. So here are the directions for you. A sentence divided into 3 parts. If there is any grammatical error in any of those parts, mark that as your answer. Otherwise, go ahead and choose D, right? Sri, alliteration does not repeat the entire word. Alliteration merely gives you 2 words that happen to have the same consonant sound at the beginning. It's not about the entire word. Okay, so for example, if I say a cowardly cow, or a rabid rat, these are alliterations. और हिंदी न्यूज़ चैनल अगर तुम देखते हो तो बहुत मिलते हैं, पता है, इंडियन क्रिकेट टीम के आसपास। सोचो धोनी के धुरंधर, सौरव के सूरमा, विराट के वीर, बहुत एलिटरेशन यूज करते हैं यार ये लोग। हाँ, so here is the question for you on your screen. A sentence divided into 3 parts. Do you see an error? Do you see a mistake? If yes, mark that as your answer, and bonus points for sharing the mistake with me. Bonus points if you can tell me what that error is. Let's see how many of you can figure this out. Kritika, any would you like to tell me what the error is? So I see two segments, okay? They are joined, they're joined with each other. So two verbs, basically two parts that are joined. But when you want to join two words, you need to have a conjunction, but there is no conjunction. So this is called a run-on sentence. तो कुछ गड़बड़ तो है. देखो, Indian feminism grew out of the women's movements of the late 19th century, reached full maturity in the early 20th century. Ooh. So that's the problem. There is no... Sri, look at this women's. So it can be more than one movement, right? So if it grew out of only one movement, then you'd use singular, but then it is possible that it grew out of multiple movements. So as far as movements goes, we are fine with that. But then the problem is there is no conjunction. So one way out is that you can use a conjunction here, but then the conjunction that will be suitable here is the conjunction and there are two issues with it. Number one, if you're using this and here, the comma is not needed, and number two, this should be considered an error of which part B or part C. So in order to avoid that confusion, let's fix it. What if I say Indian feminism, which grew out of the women's movements of the late 19th century, reached full maturity in the early 20th century. So the moment I introduce this which, then it's basically like saying that this entire part is an additional non-essential information embedded within the sentence. So that fixes it. And that is why the correct answer should be A. That's the easiest, smoothest, unambiguous way of fixing this particular question. So Nali grew out of in the late, but what if you are talking about movements that occurred during the late 19th century? In that case, you'll use of, right? So it's not that in will be wrong, it will change the meaning, but then the problem is of is already right. So this is a slightly advanced question. I shouldn't even give you an advanced level of question this soon, but that's okay. So Indian feminism, which grew out of. The moment you introduce it, it becomes absolutely all right. So moral of the story, do not ignore grammar. Even that is important. If nothing else, it will help us understand things better when working through RC, and all the other exams have grammar based questions including NMAT. Why am I talking about NMAT? यार NMAT तो बाकी सारे पेपरों से पहले होता है ना. हाँ, शुरू हो जाती है ना विंडो तो अक्टूबर में, तो तब तक तैयार करना पड़ेगा ना हमें और हमारे पास अभी टाइम ही कितना है. जून चल रहा है भाई, जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर, उसके बाद अक्टूबर आ गया. So you actually have roughly 4 months for grammar now, if you're serious about NMAT, which you should be. Okay, so that's it as far as questions go. Here is some food for your mind. We generate fears while we sit. We overcome them by actions. So if you have doubts, fear, if you're questioning your self-belief, you know what you need to focus on. Actions, and it will take care